Alright, guys, and we are live. So, welcome to another live. As you guys know, I've been going live for the last 5 or 6 days. I'm actually in quarantine. I just came back from training, teaching my defensive tactic instructor course. This was at a police department in the United States. For those who don't know, I'm training police and security. And one of the things I've done, I've actually really worked and trained more specifically in edged weapon, close quarter, hand to hand, as well as knife and edged weapons. Everything from two knives, machete, two knives, one knife, hand to hand, as well as the dynamics of gun versus hand in close quarter range. So I have an instructor course. Before we start, I'm just gonna make it fast. If you guys are interested in signing up in my instructor course, go check it out at nickdrossos.com. Or if you want to do an edged weapon instructor course, if you're a police, security, or maybe just an instructor, again, go visit nickdrossos.com. So like I said, I'm basically in quarantine, and my quarantine is finishing on Wednesday. So until then, I'm doing lives every day. Make sure, guys, to watch this one all the way to the end. This is going to be a really good one because I just came back from training the police, and again, I was training the instructors, and it was 2 days of just edged weapon, close quarter knife, okay? So I broke down the myths and realities of what you need to know, the myths and reality of knife training, of knife defense, as well as knife training. How are you training? Is your knife defense real or not, right? So I wrote down a couple of things, right? So I wrote 10 things. So the first thing I get, people are gonna tell me, and I get this comment all the time, Nick, you're an idiot. You're gonna get people killed against a knife, just run. Great. Now, here's the difference between me and other instructors. If you pressure test running, right? If you pressure test the concept of running against the knife in different environments and in close quarter range from 3 feet, 5 feet, you're gonna realize really quickly that running against the knife could be counterproductive. Means I'm giving up my back as I'm running to the door and I'm trying to open it. Well, guess what? He's stabbing me from behind, right? And how do I know? I have a video on running against the knife. So basically what I did, Helen was here. I was about maybe 10 feet away and I had to run to the door. By the time I ran to the door, she had stabbed me. Now take the context and put it in an elevator, a staircase, a parking lot. Add factors like maybe you're with your wife, your child, maybe you're a woman in your heels or you're dressed. The idea that I'm just gonna run, and it's kind of not an answer, I'm just gonna run. It's kind of saying, well, if I'm hungry, I'm just gonna eat. Or if you wanna lose weight, just don't eat. So when I hear that response, it just, to me, it's a level of stupidity, and it doesn't make sense. Again, the reality is you need to pressure test. Now, for you to run against the knife, you gotta have at least a 15 feet clearance. That means I saw the knife from far, I'm in an open space and hoping I can run faster than my attacker, okay? So that's the thing about running the knife. The second one I get, I hope, I got my gun, I'm just gonna shoot him. Guess what? I was training the police force. We did a drill from 3 feet, 9 feet, 12 feet, 20 feet. And I did a couple of drills where the officer could not move back. I did a few drills where the officer had 5 feet and he was placed against the wall. And the idea of the attacker was to charge at full speed. Guess what? In less than 3 feet, you won't get to your gun before I stab you. In less than 6 feet, it's a 50-50. And even then, by the time you pull out your gun or maybe if you shoot me, I've already got to my target and I'm already stabbing or slashing. So that's why they have the 21-foot rule of clearance space that you need to get to your gun. Anything under that, it's a hit or miss. So you need to train. If you train to go for your gun, you need to train. Yes, obviously, if you have the time and the space to go for your gun. If not, and I have a great video where you see the officer, because we're doing a drill, and he gets attacked by two people at the same time, and he comes here, and as he comes here, the knife is about here, and as he goes for his gun, he just switches and goes straight hand to hand because you're in close quarter range. Again, in that moment too, the gun could become counterproductive because if he's stabbing this way, I might need to trap, I might need to, so again, a lot of that you explore in training. So I've developed certain drills where the trainee could basically explore the dynamics of being charged from different amount of feet in full speed and also make the decision, do I go for my gun or do I go for my weapon? Do I go for my gun or do I go hand to hand? Or do I have enough where I can parry and then get to my gun? So again, the idea that you're just gonna go for your gun, yes. If I have space and I'm aware and I know he has his knife and my gun's out, great. But if I'm going and he charges 4, 5, 6 feet, I will never have enough time to get to my gun before, or any weapon for that matter, before he closes the gaps and strikes me. The third one I see about the knife, you look at a lot of videos and they make knife defense into duels, right? So you see like, and it was a couple of days ago, this, I was talking to somebody, I don't know if it was a podcast, he goes, do you do knife on knife? And I'm like, the chances are that I'm gonna, pull out a knife, and again, guys, I'm exaggerating with this knife, and I'm gonna meet another guy and we're gonna be like, fighting with a knife. When I see people do this stuff, I kind of realize I don't think they know what they're teaching, unless there's a drill or something specific they're working on, because knife attacks last between 7 and 14 seconds. That's 15%. That's 50%. Right? And as they go, they diminish because they're afraid to get caught. Either somebody intervenes or they blast in, attack, and get out. Right? They're not there to do a sparring knife fight with you. So when I see this and they're doing this and all this fancy stuff, I mean, I personally don't train for that. I've done a few drills in the past, but it might be like a really quick where I'm actually trying to isolate the drill and train something. But overall, I don't really focus on that type of training, right? And to me, again, it's not very realistic. Vincent, what's up, my man? So it's not very realistic in terms of training. I'm not gonna sit there and spend hours on doing knife on knife. The fourth is a slow motion repetitive movement. So this, guys, blows my brains out, and we've seen it in a lot of systems where they're like, if the guy comes at you, sorry guys, if the guy comes at you this way, you go 1, 2, and 3. If he comes here, you go 1, 2, and 3. Now, if you're training like that, I could guarantee you, if I put you on full out scenario, you're gonna get blasted, right? The reason why is because people say you're developing muscle memory. You're not. I'm developing muscle memory if I'm shadow boxing, shadow fighting, sparring. But right now, how can I develop a muscle memory based on my attacker having to react exactly that way? The idea that I'm going to be able to pull off a 2, 3 sequent movements in a row with him and every attacker reacting the same way is slim to none. You might have a 2, 3 second, which maybe 2 or 3 moves, maybe 2 because you're going preemptive, but after that, it's a fight. He could block, he might try to disengage and try to trap, he might strike you, his friend might jump in. So the idea that you're gonna train knife in slow motion with a repetitive movement and a sequence is gonna get you killed. So the way I train it is I train slow, medium to fast to full out scenarios. But what I tell my trainees when I train them is, the important thing is that you are using a surprise attack every time, that you're going full range of motion, right? Full range of motion, and that you're following through with intent. I think a gun for common people versus a knife is the only way. Ride shields. So, sorry guys, I get distracted. So when I'm training knife, and this is what I did when I trained the officers, we started slow, medium, full speed, and then scenarios. But the whole training was, if I'm doing knife defense and I'm just doing this, and I'm just training, and I'm leading with my hand, I'm going at slow, medium speed, but I'm not telling my attacker how I'm gonna come at you. I'm also going through full range of motion and committing to every attack because I'm actually gonna develop a real instinctive, a real reaction. I'm training my timing, my blocking, my trapping, my footwork, right? So if you don't train like that, you're gonna rob your trainer, you're gonna rob who you're training with of of a certain reality, right? Now, you start slow, medium, then you go faster, and then you go full out with scenario training. That is the best way to actually train it. From completely the awareness part, to him pulling out the knife, to you exploding forward, and then it's a fight, right? So all this 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the guy doesn't move, completely false, doesn't work, because your attacker is going to react in so many different ways, and there's so much more. So I mostly focus on concepts and strategies and isolate and break down drills to train specific skills and concepts, and then being able to put it all together. Okay. Another one that's interesting, and this again, guys, I'm going through my experience of training. I was actually teaching a knife defense. I was doing a training, and there was a Krav Maga. And I have nothing against Krav Maga. I've been certified. I went to train in Greece in Krav Maga. I got my instructor course. But like I've made videos. There's good Krav Maga. There's bad Krav Maga. It depends on how people teach it and what they bring into it. So I remember I was teaching a class, and one of the Krav Maga instructors was like, "You're doing it all wrong. A good knife fighter will never switch hands." And I said, "I'm not afraid of the good knife fighter. I'm afraid of the crackhead." The idea that what I want to teach from this is the idea that that every attacker will attack you a certain way, and certain attackers will only, like, the idea that they're not going to switch hands, the idea that they're not going to like slash or stab or go high or go low. I would say you don't know who you're dealing with in the street. There's no such thing of one attacker won't do it this way or that way. And a great example of that, when I make videos and I take different attackers to attack me, and I say grab me, one will grab me like this, the other one here, the other one there, the other one here. So again, don't fixate on training just for a certain attack or a certain attacker or a certain way you're going to attack. Attack in absolutely every single way. Focus on knife. Okay, so this is one of the most important part. A lot of the knife defense training I've seen starts from when the knife is out. So their knife defense training begins when the knife is out. I always say the attack starts the moment you make visual intuitive contact, or the moment the guy's in front of you talking to you. Why wait till the knife is here for you to step in or strike? The instant I see any movement, the instant I can't see his hand, you have to assume he's got a knife. You need to train knife defense, not from when the knife is out, but the moment the attacker is 3 to 5 feet, the moment you can't see his hand, that knife defense begins at that very moment. The faster you could come in and explode and intercept and break the momentum of him coming in you, and you could go in him, and again, depending if I have an improvised weapon or if I could run, but if I'm in close quarter, what I've seen proves and works best is for me not to move back, but to move in. Again, I've developed some drills to train to explode forward and not move backwards. Again, I've broken those drills to work and isolate those things. Another thing I hear, you're gonna get cut. If you get cut, you're gonna die. Guys, yes, the more slashes and stabs you get, the higher chances you have of dying. But people have been shot. I know a guy who got shot in the head and he survived, right? You could get cut 10, 15, 20 times and still survive. However, if you give up fighting, then you're definitely dead. So that's my mindset. So even in training this overkill, When I was training, again, at one point, one of the officers got stabbed and she's like, oh, I got stabbed. I'm like, no. Guys, every time you train knife, you have to train that even if you get stabbed, even if you get cut, you keep fighting. Because the reality is you won't feel it because of adrenaline. And it doesn't mean that you're dead because you got stabbed or slashed, right? So, I mean, if you still have fight in you, you go all the way. The moment you're being attacked and suddenly you roll over and you do nothing, then you're definitely getting stabbed and slashed, and your chances of survival are a lot less than you actually, putting up a fight and trying to do something. So even if I get cut, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, and just stop. I get cut, I come right back and I fight, right? Think about it. If the attacker, the knife is in close quarter and it's stabbed me or slashed me, I'm also in range to try to trap or to strike or to counter, right? So again, I made a video on the pros and cons of trapping and parrying, and I've broken it down. But again, get that mindset out of your head. If you, oh, I would have died. Oh shit, I got cut here. Doesn't matter. Your mindset should be you keep fighting in your training and you do it overkill. The best way to do it, I'm gonna answer everybody's questions after. Another thing that blows my mind, against a knife, there's nothing you could do. I don't know about your mindset, but if that's your mindset, hey, that's your business. If you think there's nothing you can do, then great. I hope you never get attacked. And if you do, tell your attacker, there's nothing I can do. Or you attempt to give him a fight. You attempt to escape. Attempt to pick up an improvised weapon. You're in close quarter. You're in close quarter. He's stabbing you. You try to trap that knife. You strike. You counter. It's a wrong mindset to say there's nothing you could do. But if that is your mindset at the end, it's your life. I know for me, that's not my mindset. I get attacked, you better believe he's got a fight in his hands. I don't care if I got stabbed, slashed 15, 30, 50, 100 times. As long as I'm breathing, I'm fighting. That's the mindset you want to develop. And not, there's nothing I could do, right? Again, mindset is everything in this. Some people say, never trap, never parry. There's no nevers, right? There's no nevers, in fighting. Never trap, never parry. What I want to do is give you all the skills and all the tools, and they're not a lot when it comes to knife defense. And then it's up to you to decide, what do I do, when and how? How do I apply it? What is the best? Should I trap? Should I parry? Should I use my legs? Should I pick up an improvised weapon? Should I run? Right? I'm giving you the tools at the end. You got to know when and how to use them. What's the best way for you to figure that out? Is through a live drills. That means through full out, medium, slow drills or fast drills where you're actually exploring each of them. So what I do in my training, when we did our seminar this weekend, we did about 42 drills. Each designed to work on a specific target. Right? After the 42 drills, or after the 38, we start doing full-out scenarios where we put all the pieces together. Because by breaking it down, I'm allowing the trainee to actually work on a certain area each time, and then slowly keep stacking the drills and making it harder. Other things that we said is, the other thing I was going to say, again, which is interesting, we did this in Code Red Defense where we put blood on their hands. So blood becomes like a lubricant. Sweat, water, right? We were doing the training. It was so hot, we're sweating. Suddenly trapping the knife became very hard, right? So if I say never, always trap a knife, but suddenly there's a factor like sweat or blood, well, you need to go from trapping to transitioning to parrying to using your legs. How do you do that again? Is giving you the options, and at the end, you deciding what you need to do and what works best for you, okay? And last is that the idea that, the most dangerous fighter is a knife fighter. When you're faced with a knife, and I did the drill, again, guys, I pressure test my shit. I'm not teaching you guys just anything, right? If I haven't seen it in real life, if I've never explored it in my real life, working almost, if I take my club years plus security, I was almost 10 years altogether, 7, 10 years, whatever it was. If I've never explored that, I'm not going to teach it. I'm going to take it. If I can, then I'm going to put it and pressure test it. Pressure tested with Big Nick, with Moose, with Davis, with Xavier. I was doing knife defense, right? I was taller than him. I had more advantages, and certain techniques or certain moves worked with him that didn't work with Big Nick. So that's pressure testing, and then you try to narrow it down and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And then being able to go full out, right? That's why I have the video when I went out and I challenged random people to try to attack me with a marker. That's full out pressure testing. It doesn't get more real than that. And I did one with Helen here, and I knew she was gonna attack me, and by the time she attacked me, by the time I trapped it, I got stabbed. And you might say, well, she's a woman. A woman could be a teenage kid, a 16-year-old kid with a knife, could be deadly, right? It's not as easy, right? Even with the proper training, you might get cut, right? And that's another thing. Expect, like I talked about, expect to get cut, you're gonna get cut. And again, so what I mean is the moment you're faced with an attacker with a knife, you gotta look at the attack. I don't look anymore male, female, kid, teenage. I look at attacker with a knife, attacker, knife, deadly. That's it, okay? So those are the 10 things, guys. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because there's so many comments coming in at the same time. So I'm gonna take some of your questions. Wow. What's up, my man? Vincent, Candice is not here. Right shoes might be good versus knife, but not everyone is carrying one. Absolutely. I think gun for common people versus the only way. I kind of agree with you, SCR. But again, if you get to it, you got to have a certain amount of range to it. A chain melt armor. A chain, yeah, absolutely, man. Big fan. Kareem, what's up? It's been where it isn't heavy and you can wear underneath a armor. Is this a Krav Maga? Not necessarily, guys. It's not. It's not really Krav Maga. It's a mix of everything. I've taken many styles and I put them together and I say what's worked for me, and that's what I teach. And again, a lot of it comes from my experience working in clubs and putting everything together. Training with a knife. That is Nick teaches to strike then grab. Sorry guys, let me come here. I think that the good tip that I use a knife. It is important to train with a hard plastic knife and soft rubber. Absolutely, sometimes I work with the markers to actually see the cuts and stabs. There's also something called the shock knife that I'm gonna look into getting. Shorter than you and he's trying to stab you. A lot of knife attacks I've seen on YouTube, the victim concentrate too much on grabbing the knife hand, and always because the bad guy pulls the hand away. So I talk a lot about this, and I did a lot of this, is a lot of people see the, when you can't see the person's hand, you focus here. But this is the most dangerous hand because in 80% or 70%, the person will grab, trap, push, pull, try to pin. And every time I pressure tested this, when I tried to get to the knife, as long as this empty hand is leading, it was almost impossible for me to get to that hand. So you gotta move that hand out of the way. And when you train knife defense, you gotta train to bypass it, to parry it, to look at the closest weapon, which is this, which is the closest weapon to you, as much and not maybe even as a bigger threat to the knife, because that's what he's gonna use as leverage to stab you. Make me moderate for these live streams. You can click on my name and then make me moderate so we can keep stream nice and without. Yeah, man, Vincent, let's talk about it. That's the thing, Vincent. I'm not very techie, but actually, Vincent, I want to get you on my podcast, but actually, I want to talk to you about a couple of things because I definitely think we could be working together. Again, guys, I'm not a very, I'm not a very tech guy. So, sometimes I'm trying to do my best in planning these streams. So if anybody out there wants to help me out with this stuff, more than happy. Vincent, definitely, man, if I can get you to moderate. My phone's ringing right now. I don't know if I'm supposed to put it on airplane mode or whatever. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. So Vincent, I want to thank you guys for, guys, I want to thank you for watching. Make sure to visit my website, nickdrossos.com. If you have any comments, any questions, I have an instructor course coming up next year as well. If you're in police and security and want to do my edged weapon instructor course, go check it out. And that's it, guys. Stay safe and stand strong. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell.